Just 2 weeks behind Knox Johnson, he continued eastwards for another lap of the Southern Ocean to save my soul, as he put it. This is the real solo race, sailing like it's 1968.
Forcément, tous les gens qui reviendront de la Golden Globe Race, forcément, il faut s'attendre à ce qu'ils aient changé.
It's a great story and it's the 50th anniversary, and it's a great opportunity to relive the original solo sailing when technology wasn't available, where we're just using sextants and wind-up clocks to find your position. And it's really the story of humanity and human endeavour in the extreme. So the world has never seen anything like this event.
Well, g'day. There was a little delay here. We've got a bit of an issue. Guy de Boer is still not online yet. He's saying something about maybe it's the Apple connection. He's got all the buttons that he pressed last week. For some reason, he's not there. But I've got the other guy here. But before I get into that, I'll just give you a quick update on what's been happening with the GGR this last week. This is show number 3 of all the entrants. Okay, so Guy Waits, who's our clipper skipper, can't get to his boat. His boat's in Panama. That's another story. Pat, our Irish entrant, is going to hold a giant raffle later this year. He's going to organise all sorts of prizes as part of his fundraising. So stand by for a giant raffle. Apparently it's going to be pretty cool. Mike Date is in Australia, who's got the Aries 32 doing a big refit. He's actually producing T-shirts now, GGR T-shirts, getting ready for the big launch, which could be in a week or so. So he'll finally be sailing. He's looking forward to that. Michael Davey. I've just got Guy de Boer just turned up. That's cool. I'll get him in a minute. Michael Davey, South Australian entry, who's in New Zealand with his Cape Dory 36 in the middle of a refit. He had to stop for a while because of the shutdown in New Zealand, but he's back on board and carrying on. So he's excited about that. Urton, who entered the 2018 GGR but was our first retirement, was going to do the Ostar. They cancelled the Ostar this year because of the pandemic, and now it's been rescheduled for next year, and he's just re-entered, so he's back in the Ostar again. It's the Observer single-handed transatlantic race that started in 60. I'm in trouble now. 64, I think it was, and it's going on and on and on. So that'll be fun. Single-handed race across the Atlantic. And Ian Herbert Jones in England, who's got Istvan's Tradewind 35, is sailing again at last. He finally went out for a sail this weekend, and we might have a new entry next week. We'll see. We've got about 6 other sailors that are talking about entering, but they haven't. It looks like we're going to get an entry in next week, so that's kind of cool. Now, I'll just have a quick scan through here. We've apparently got... Oh, there he is. I'll just pop Guy in here. Hello, Guy. You're back.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm having. I think my problem is using Firefox. So tell all your the other competitors to not use Firefox to connect.
Anyway.
Thank you for inviting me this morning, Don. It's glad to be here.
Yeah, cool. Well, actually, that's an interesting point. I should work out where everyone is. We're in Tasmania, so it's about 10 o'clock here in the evening. And where are you?
I'm in Key West, Florida, East Coast time, so it's 8 a.m. here.
Oh, sorry to get up so early. Good to see you had the GGR spirit and keep going, keep trying. Jane was trying to get messages back, but anyway, it's good to see you. So, so you've got a Toshiba 36. Last week I said it was a Barber 35, I think, which is the same as there's another boat there that crikey, I've gone blank on his name now. Our Canadian entry.
We call him G.
yeah, that's right. And yours is a very similar boat, eh? Tell me the story about the boat before we get into you and the background. How you evolved to get it.
The designer's the same, but actually the boats look very similar. But Bob Perry says that the Toshiba is a greatly different design than the Baba.
Yeah, hull shape. Looks a little bit, well, it's a more harder build by the look of it, you know.
It's a harder bilge. It's a more stable, stiffer hull, and I was very methodical in my process on selecting the boat. There were really only 3 boats, I think, that you've selected that I felt were capable of winning the boat. And last September, I went to Europe to look at them, but I came back to the States to buy this Toshiba 36 in the Chesapeake Bay.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Well, before we get into all the tough stuff, let's just go through a bit of your background, like your family background. What got you into sailing? How did the nautical side, sort of become part of you?
Well, my father is from Holland. He's from, I have a tough time pronouncing him because even though I'm Dutch, I grew up here in the States. Scheveningen. He went to the Naval College there. He was an officer for the original Holland America line. And he met my mother as a passenger on the cargo ship right after World War II. Okay. And so, needless to say, I'm a byproduct of that marriage.
Okay, you've always been based in Florida. You were
No. My mother's from New Orleans. So when my mother lived in Holland for 3 years, when my father was still going to sea, and eventually she got pregnant, and Holland was still devastated after the war. So they immigrated to New Orleans, which is her hometown. Okay. And my father, was, got into sailing and racing at the New Orleans Yacht Club. I grew up there in the junior sailing program with my siblings. And
what sort of sailing was your father doing? What sort of you say he was in sailing? Was it like small boats or ocean racing or what?
Well, I mean, New Orleans had some sizable boats, but of all things, the Pilot 35 boat that's one of your designs is a wooden boat. He was the bowman on in the late 50s and early 60s. And,
okay,
so it was. I grew up in that atmosphere, and I was fascinated with the round the world sailing with Chichester, and of course Robin Knox Johnson. But I got sidetracked. Buddy Melgus came to my yacht club right after winning the gold medal, and got me really into the thought of wanting to sail Olympic class boats. And which I eventually sailed the Finn, a Star, and actually went back to the Finns and sailed in the '88 Olympic trials in Marblehead.
Yeah. So I've read some of the bits. You did a lot of that sort of medium-sized boat racing, quite successful. But when did it roll over into sort of ocean racing and offshore sailing? Well,
I mean, I was doing offshore racing all through the '80s. Actually, my first SORC, the Southern Ocean Racing Circuit, was 1976. I was 19 years old. But after I gave up the star sailing, and I basically became a professional sailor, racing Grand Prix race boats around, and became a yacht broker. So I did that all the way through 2006.
That's all right. So, okay. And so where were you when you first heard about the Golden Globe race? Like, as in 2018, not 68?
I heard about it the moment it was announced. I did not really take an interest into it until literally the race started.
Yeah. Okay.
And I started following it, and I wanted to do something on my own. 10 years ago, I took up adventure racing in small boats. Like I do an Everglades Challenge race, which is a 300-mile boat, sort of expedition race here in Florida.
One and a half Hobby Cats, by the look of it. I followed it. It was quite fun.
Yeah. I started with a Hobie 18, and then I redesigned that into a trimaran, which I built.
So
and I sailed this year in a Windrider, which is a plastic molded 17-foot trimaran.
So that one, you built that. I thought it was a production boat. So you turned the Hobby 18 into a trimaran.
Yeah. I built the center hull and the cross beams and took all the parts off the 18.
Okay.
And sailed it. But my father designed that literally just a couple months before he passed away.
Yeah.
And so it's yeah. I have to tell you though, I cut that boat up, although the bow is sitting in my garden beside the house.
Okay, makes sense. I like little boats. That's another story. All right,
Yeah,
so
no, I
that's
love
pretty
small
cool. So,
boats. Small boats,
so,
small boats are my passion.
so when you heard about the GGR the first time, you're a businessman. Like, what were you? What's your occupation? What were you doing? You know.
I've been in the newspaper magazine business since the mid to late '80s.
Yeah.
I've owned a sailing newspaper when I lived in Detroit. It was a national newspaper called Racer's Edge, Sailing Central. And but my background is actually I moved out of the family home when I was 16. I was the world's worst student. My father was going to kill me. And my older brother was playing music here on the island in Key West, and I convinced my parents into paying my rent. So I came here for high school. And anyway, the moment I left the house, my relationship with my father healed, and basically he says I was no longer his responsibility.
Okay.
And anyway, so I went off and did all this sailing, and in 2005, my parents, who were in their 80s and stuff, I decided to move back to Key West because they had eventually settled here in the 90s. Yeah. And spent a lot of those last sort of years with my parents before they passed away. Okay, so I live in Key West. It's a little island, 2 miles by 5, but I'm only 6 miles away from the Gulf Stream. So I have blue water sailing with big seas and everything just right at my doorstep.
Cool. So what finally triggered you to enter the race? What was the trigger?
Well, in the last 10 years, I actually thought I was going to do a mini program.
A mini, as in a little mini 580?
Well, no. No. So the mini Transat.
Okay, you're too big for a mini.
Yeah, and that's the combination of that and my age. And I anyway. So needless to say, I put that on the back burner.
Oh yeah, it's a lot easier doing the GGR than the mini campaign. So you did.
Yeah. So I personally started following the GGR. And when the race was on, and literally I was on the website and the tracker all the time.
Yeah, cool.
And it before the finish, I started playing with the budget.
Yeah.
And I figured that it was something that I could achieve, both financially and physically, because Jean-Luc won the race at age 73 and stuff, and I'm 64 now. I'll be 66 when the race starts. But I'm 6'6". I'm somewhat athletic. I got to get back into yoga and do a few more things so to get better in better shape. But I'm excited about the boat, and more than anything, I mean, I acquired my boat in November in the Chesapeake, and I quickly sailed it here to Key West, which was a 900-mile sail. Well, I shouldn't say sail. I mainly went through the intercoastal because the boat was new to me, and I didn't want to take it in too much of the ocean. I sailed it in the ocean from Charleston down to Key West. Yeah. But it's been 6 months of us working on the boat, and I'm about a week to 10 days away from having the work that I've done. I've taken the bowsprit off. I think I've sort of made that announcement. Yeah. And the hydrovane has arrived, so that's going to be installed hopefully at the end of the week.
Okay.
So I'm excited about the whole process.
Yeah, the bowsprit's gone. I got a picture of it up there now, so that's cool.
Well, that's it coming off. That's it.
I'm going to swap you over here. Hang on a sec. I've lost you there. Here we go. I get you back on there, and get you there.
The interesting thing is when I had my sailing newspaper in the '90s, Bob Perry was one of my writers. So I've had a relationship with him, and we talk quite regularly about the work that I'm doing on the boat. And Bob has a funny way of making jokes, but he means them, and he thinks I'm absolutely crazy to take the bowsprit off.
Yeah. Well, anyway, there's certain things we can't talk about.
I discovered rot in the sprit.
Yeah.
And in discovering that, it had to come off anyway.
Yeah.
So basically what my plan is, and I have to see if I can fulfill that because of the coronavirus situation, but I've sailed many miles as a racer, but I'm not a solo sailor.
Yeah.
And so my plan is 2020 for me to sail 8,000 to 10,000 miles,
Yeah.
develop the polars for the boat, and I'm going to do that without the bowsprit.
Okay.
And at the end of that time, I will determine, does the bowsprit go back on, or do I keep it the way it is?
Yeah.
Okay. Jean-Luc was very instructive in my conversations and the things you've read about, that these boats are actually pretty tender.
Yeah.
And they don't need all the sail area because they're basically designed for coastal areas. And that's what I'm hoping for, is that actually my boat is very powerful in the rig, and I don't think I need all that extra sail area.
Okay. All right. Now, I know you've been talking a long time, hoping that I wouldn't bring this up, but here's your word associations. He sent that sent me an email and said, "Hey, Don, I don't like this rubbish about word associations. I want to talk about meaning." And so, bad luck, brother. You've got it. So get ready for it. Here they come. You ready?
Yeah.
Quick answers. 2022.
Great adventure.
Jean-Luc Vandenheed.
Someone to look up to.
Iceberg.
I don't think you're setting the southern latitudes at a point that we're going to get there.
Okay. Overboard.
Terrifying.
Trump.
Who?
Trump. You know.
I'll pass on that one.
Okay. Southern Ocean.
One of the great experiences I'm truly looking forward to. And I got to stop you there because, Don, yesterday I watched your BOC video.
Oh.
And of all the things I keep searching about video about the Southern Ocean, the clip, the part in that of you, your voice, your mannerisms after your boat rolled, I think truly told the story very well.
Oh, yeah,
no one can imagine what we go through with that. So
Absolutely.
That was great. That was very insightful.
It's called McIntyre Knockdown. It's on the GGR video things. We got to Disneyland.
Been there once.
Fear.
What's that?
Fear.
Oh, well, I think fear is the thing that keeps humans alive. So you gotta respect it.
Okay, America's Cup.
A lost opportunity.
Facebook.
Necessary, but a problem.
Pandemic.
Very sad situation.
Panic.
I've experienced that several times in my life, but I seem to go through it well.
Money.
Never enough.
I've just lost you here for some reason. Jane, you might need to look at this. Okay, Chichester.
Again, someone to look up to, admire. It was his life story is truly inspiring.
Okay, family.
The older you get, the more important it is.
EPIRB.
Teddy bear.
Okay, I'll take that one.
I'll hug on to that if I ever hit the button.
Okay, rollover.
I mean, I've had a maxi with the mast in the water, but never a rollover. So I hope I don't ever experience it.
Okay, the last one is why.
Why not? You know, for the GGR, for me, it's something I feel driven to compete in.
Okay, just a quick question here from someone here from Agnes Carlos. What was the turning point that convinced you that you could participate in the GGR?
Just in my mind to say I want to do it. I accomplish most things I want.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Pick a number between 1 and 10. Here comes the juicy questions, the one you've been looking forward to.
1.
What are your guilty pleasures?
Chocolate ganache cake.
Okay. Between 10 and 20.
10.
What do you think is a waste of money?
Oh, Lord. Expensive automobiles.
Okay. Okay. Between 20 and 30.
20. I'm thinking about this as a regatta. I want the highest finish I can have.
Okay. That's a good one. What's the meaning of life?
Hopefully I'll know that answer at the end of mine.
Okay. Between
It's a life experience. It's something you're always exploring.
Okay. Between 30 and 40.
30.
Okay. What would you rather be without? Eyes or a mouth?
What's the question?
What would you rather not have? Eyes or a mouth? If someone took your eyes away or your mouth away, what would you rather have? Which one would you rather have?
I communicate well with my eyes, so I would rather have my eyes.
Okay. Between 40 and 47.
40.
What's your biggest fear and why?
My biggest fear is right now is not making it to the starting line. It would truly be a disappointment, considering the coronavirus situation and stuff. But I don't see that happening.
Yeah. Okay. Last one. A to N. Pick a letter.
A to N. L.
Okay. What was the last gift you gave someone?
What was the last gift I gave
the last
someone?
gift that you gave to someone.
Oh, Lord. An airplane ticket.
Is it to get rid of someone or get someone to come to you?
No, to visit their mother.
Okay. All right. At that, I'm going to bring in the other guy. Here he comes. G'day, Guy. This is going to get...
Hi there. How are you?
Literally, that's the other guy.
Oh, I said, g'day, Guy. I didn't want you to answer. Hang on, we lost you, Guy. Where'd you go?
Hold on. I cover up my screen so I can look at the camera, not myself.
Three-way. So I've just brought on Guy Waits. So Guy Waits is the guy on the right. G'day, Guy.
Hi, Don.
I've spoken, but it was the first time actually seeing him.
I just want to check. Can you two hear each other?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so we got a three-way conversation. So, so I mentioned you, Guy Waits. Now this gets tricky, Mr. Waits. I mentioned you at the beginning. You can't get to your boat. You'll be on next week, so we'll get the big story then. Tell us the story about your boat for the GGR.
Well, it's not something to brag about, but I bought a boat that I hadn't ever met before, and from a guy I've never met before, some dodgy character from another country, and money exchanged hands, and I still don't have a boat that I can get my hands on. So,
That's probably enough. Don't say any more, because I'm involved, you're involved, and there's another mysterious man involved, and we'll extend on that next week. Where do we go from there? What do you do for a job?
Well, at the moment I'm waiting for the Clipper race to restart next year. So
you're unemployed. You're an unemployed skipper, Clipper skipper.
Yeah, just about. But I'm making use of the time at home. It's an unexpected break for me, so it's unfortunate that I can't be with my boat. But I'm just making the best of it and thinking about all things GGR and doing as much planning and preparation as I can at home. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. De Boer. In fact, how do I pronounce your surname properly, Mr. De Boer?
Well, De Boer is sort of the English way. De Boer is more of a Dutch way.
Okay, you're blowing my line. I always tell people, Guy, you'll love him. He's the quintessential cigar-smoking Yank, And now I find out you're a Dutchman.
Well, like I said, you'd never. Well, my father smoked cigarettes way back in the day, but no, yes, I smoke cigars.
Okay.
I used to be a militant non-smoker till about a 3 a.m. watch, and I get my mainsail trimmer came up with a cigar and lit it, and then I said, "What's that?"
Okay, that's cool. All right, so Mr. De Boer, why Guy has Mr. Waits has a Tradewind 35. Why do you think you're going to beat the Tradewind 35?
Oh God. The analysis of all the boats, the Tradewinds, excuse me, not the Tradewinds, but speaking about my boat, it's got by far the longest water line. So the analysis that I did with the Weather Router and Yacht Designers, it's just a faster boat.
Okay, Beard, that's enough, Beard. That's enough. You've had your minute. Okay, now, Mr. Waits, why are you going to beat Mr. De Boer?
Well, that wasn't the reason why I chose a Tradewind 35, but whether I beat Mr. De Boer or not remains to be seen.
Okay, that's cool.
He's got a lot more experience than I have in the ocean, so
yeah,
he's gonna be a tough guy. Can I say something to you, Don, in the sense that the difference in the 22 race from the 2018 from the competitor side, when I started this, I was thinking that I was going to be the only one with a big racing background. But there are a lot of guys in this race that have a great racing pedigree, and that urge to be manic about boat speed, strategy, and tactics.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a much closer race than it was in 18.
Yeah, you're actually right. In terms of we've got 26 entrants at the moment, and there's some real races within the race there, I think. And you're right, there's a lot of experience there, and also 22. You've all got the advantage of watching what happened in 2018, and that's equipping you with quite a lot of little stories and things to fall back on. So it's pretty cool. And of course, all those entrants are talking to new entrants as well. They're a wealth of information. I'm surprised more people aren't talking to them, but anyway, that's another story. Okay, so we're nearly running out of time. But what's the biggest thing that you're looking forward to, Guy Waits? Besides next Tuesday, I know you're looking forward to that immensely. What's the biggest thing you're looking forward to now? The most fun for the GGR? Like, you're in the GGR. What's the best thing that's happening for you right now with GGR?
With GGR, that's a tough one. There's a lot to look forward to. Are you talking about the actual race itself, or just the preparation time?
Right now, kicking back with your wife and saying, "Wow, the GGR is going to be fun," or whatever. Something that's a fun part of you being involved. It's not all blood, sweat, and tears. There must be something that is good to be. What is it?
Well, it's great. It's great to have this amount of adventure to plan for and look forward to. I got to say, I've been at home now for just over 2 months, and I'm more at the stage now of chomping at the bit to get to Panama and get my hands on my boat. That's what I want to do.
Okay. Very short description, because everyone knows you. I push you as being a clipper skipper, tied up with Clipper and Robin and so on. But you've done 2 really amazing little voyages, just 30 seconds on each one, just so people can look forward to hearing a bit more about it next week.
Okay, so first single-handed attempt at a transatlantic was in a Contessa 26 called Red Admiral in the 2010 Jester Challenge, and I retired 1,000 miles out in the Atlantic, came back, rebuilt the boat in the winter, and just did it all again myself in 2011 and back again. That was a double transatlantic, and then again. In 2016 in a Corribee, which is 20 feet 9 inches long, via the northern route across the Atlantic to Newport, Rhode Island. Left the boat there in the winter because of the hurricane season. Went back in 2017, put the boat back in the water, sailed home single-handed. Yeah.
Okay, you've said enough. I'm going to get rid of you now, and everyone will be chafing at the bit to come. They'll be chafing to be here, be live with Guy, the other guy, next week, next Tuesday. So. So yeah, next Tuesday, same time, same place. So I'll switch you off now, Guy. Thanks for sticking your head in the ring tonight,
Thank you.
because I really didn't think the other guy was going to turn up. He's a Yank. He's American. Smokes cigars. Technology, all that stuff. So thanks, Guy, and we'll see you next week, eh?
Yep. Look forward to it. See you then.
I'll get rid of you. Bye bye. So that's cool. Guy, anything? What's your most infamous or most famous or most memorable voyage that you've done on a boat? What's your best boat story that you yarn about in the bush while you're having around the campfire smoking cigars?
Well, it's probably two. It's the first Everglades challenge that I did in 2011, and the one I just completed in March. This adventure sailing in these small boats is a lot of fun.
Yeah, cool. The funny part is that we've got 4 GGR skippers now, all looking at the Mini 580. I mean the Globe 580. I like little boats too. That's another story.
I like building small boats, so you just never know what happens. But let me get one step down.
I can see a retirement village happening with Globe 580s all going. We'll all have our fenders out, and we'll all be saying, "Oh, I remember the day," all rafted up, going crazy. Anyway, all right. So thanks, Guy. I appreciate your time. Thanks for persevering and pressing the right buttons and getting here. And we'll say goodbye. I'll switch you off so I can put the other thing on here and try and turn it off this time, because we didn't turn it on. So don't swear when I take you off the screen. Don't swear or say anything in case it doesn't turn off. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Guy. Appreciate that. See you later.
My pleasure joining you. Take care, John.
Bye. So that's it. That's see you next week. That was number 3, and I'll hopefully turn this off shortly. See you later. Bye bye.